was had my microphone on. I got my wireless mic right there. Got it hooked up to the phone. But last time I had it on a real old phone. I had it in one of my drawers. Sometimes I record just so I can have two phones. But I was just trying it out. I want y'all to look at something real quick. We're gonna talk about the Eagles for a minute. I don't have a lot of time. I'm waiting for my wife to get out. She's doing something. Gave me a little time. But check this out. See all these leaves that I raked in that last video? See all them leaves that I raked up? That's a lot of leaves. Now watch this. Watch this. I want y'all to see this. This is the crazy stuff. I look in my backyard. It looked like I didn't do a thing. Watch this. Look at this. Look at look like I barely touched back here. Look like I barely touched back here. That's crazy. So what's up, little Griff? Um, what's going on, people? What's going on, 3K? We back. We back. I'm only here for a minute. I'm doing another test. Can y'all hear me? If you can hear me, put a thumbs up in the chat because I got my wireless mic on. But I think I figured out that the my wireless mic does not work on my old phone. Only only on a new phone or a newer phone. So, but yeah. So I'm just sitting, kind of waiting for my wife to get out. We gonna go to the Amish market. Uh, get some turkey ham. Maybe I'll get some beef ribs because they make them good over there. A couple other things for the night, and then we celebrate my granddaughter turning 16 tomorrow. Nothing big. She coming over. She wanted Buffalo Wild Wings, so we're gonna get her some Buffalo Wild Wings. Hang out. The little grand coming over. My great grandson Roman. I always have fun with him. You know, I'll be hitting a bunch of selfies. But while I got this little bit of time, um, let's talk about let's talk about the birds in the morning. We can officially talk about this. And yes, I'm probably gonna go late tonight at 10:30. So uh, yeah, we might have three streams tonight. So, but so um, this is what we got going on. I watched a little film yesterday. I watched the Lions, Minnesota at Detroit. I watched that game. Minnesota gave them a good game. Now, I would like to say we are better than Minnesota. I think our defense is one of the top defenses in the league, regardless of what the stats say. I think if we are not, we are trending in that direction, the way they've been playing, and I'm good with that. So I think it's going to be another defensive battle, but I think our offense can be better than Detroit's. Can be because we haven't put it together yet. We still haven't figured that part out. So um, so we got what? All right. I don't know who this dude is, but yeah, don't come here with no toxic, bro. Don't do that. But in any case, we still have an opportunity to uh, to solidify ourselves as one of the best teams. But the offense has got to do it because Jameer Gibbs is a problem. Now this will be the real test. We had a real test last week. I mean, Josh Jacobs is a pretty good runner, but Jameer Gibbs and Taylor in Indianapolis are playing the two best running backs in the league right now, in my opinion. Regardless of what stats say, I don't know where they fit, how they rank right now, but both of them, Taylor in Indianapolis and Jameer Gibbs in Detroit, both of them are problems. So yeah, yeah, Alex Panda, our offensive line is healthy. We are healthy in that regard. So um, it was good to see Cam Jurgens back, but I need to see him because he had a knee injury. I thought he was still dealing with his back, to be honest with you. Um, but you know them knee injuries, man. You got to see it on the field. It sounds good if they're back on the field, but you know it's a whole different ball game when you're talking about they look good in practice and then they look good in the game. So we'll see what they can do. But I agree with you. It is good to have everybody back. Dickerson is back. Cam Jurgens is back. Everybody is quote unquote healthy on the Eagles' offensive line. Are they going to be able to take advantage of it though? That's the question. Are we going to look like? Are we going to be mauling folks? Because let me be honest with you. If you watch that game, or go back and watch any game, watch the broadcast view. You don't have to have an all 22 or anything like that. Watch any replay of the game. You could probably look at it on YouTube and watch the line of scrimmage. Minnesota was moving Detroit's defensive line pretty well. Now, obviously, Detroit won some battles as well, but Minnesota was getting movement on that offensive line in the trenches, and that's where it counts. That's where it counts. Um, so hold on, I'm trying to read all these questions. Schoolboy with Dan Campbell, and he's hard as bravado. He knows he will probably need to go cloud against us, but we still gonna go man. We'll see. We'll see. Like I said, I would expect teams to look at what Green Bay did and kind of follow suit. To be honest with you, but we'll see. Um, yeah, Jacobs has had a similar season to Saquon. Uh, yeah, yeah, Jacobs. We pretty much handled him pretty good, but he got off a couple good runs. But I mean, then again, so did we. We at that point now where we can't look at Saquon as far as rushes. We need to look at Saquon as far as touches. We need to get the ball in his hands. Put him on more screens. I want to see more Tank Bigsby. I like that. That is a 1-2 punch. If the offensive line can get going, and a lot of people, I heard the narrative on the national media again talking about the Eagles got to win without AJ Brown, trying to minimize his importance. And I'm like, that ain't how it went down. That ain't how it went down. That's how you know. That's how you know people don't watch tape. That's how you know. If they say the Eagles won without AJ Brown, you know they don't watch tape because if you looked at the game, you see how good the offensive line was that game, and Saquon went off that game. So it was a big balance. So people, they don't watch tape. But in any case, um, yeah, our defense has gone from allowing 4.6 to 3.6 since N'Kobe Dean came back. Absolutely. Absolutely. People, um, y'all know I've been on the N'Kobe train since last year, dude. As a matter of fact, since I was at his football camp. Um, N'Kobe Dean is probably one of the smartest dudes in the league at his position. We already know he's smart, engineering degree, all of that type of stuff. But him processing information and getting his nose to the ball, he's one of the best in the business. He might not be the biggest, strongest, fastest, but he knows how to get to the ball. And even with that, when you're looking at his size, that's something. When you are an undersized player, you've been hearing that your whole life. So it's not. I'm sure they told him that when he went to Georgia. I'm sure they told him that when he was in high school. Um, you just not the biggest playing at that position, and there's a lot of other guys better than you. So what does he do? He goes to the SEC, plays in the toughest conference in the country, and balls out at his size with everybody else. So when you get to this point, that's irrelevant. You know how to play at your position. Um, did you see Diana Rossini went from AJ being disgruntled to now players not liking Jalen's style of play? She don't. Yeah, they always switching the narrative, man. It is what it is. It is what it is. Because again, AJ was 100% correct. Um, when he said thank you for the ring, but this is a new year. Teams have adapted, and that's the key word. They know what we coming with, so you got to come up with something different. You got to attack them zones. You got to get the ball in the middle of the field. You got to hit Dallas Goddard going down the middle. You got to take advantage of that. So um, we have to be better in that regard in mixing up the plays and attacking the zones and doing stuff like that. I still don't know if Jalen is better kind of like on his own. Well, he's not gonna do it on his own. I don't think he's at that level. I think he could do it. And if they let him do it, um, he's not an elite level, you know, play caller where he can just like Tom Brady or Peyton Manning and dissect everything that's on the field. But what I will say, he's good enough where if you do let him do that, you can only get better because he still makes the right reads. He's not going to really turn the ball over, um, things like that. So I wish he would lead or lean more into that. So, but we'll see how to do. Because listen, there's a lot of football left to play. and things can still change. Things can still change in a heartbeat. So, um, let me see. But yeah, Diana Rossini, yeah, it is what it is. Everybody knows what it is. Um, so funniest thing about all this is Sirianni was the one pushing last year and this whole new year, but he's still clinging to last year philosophies. Schoolboy, it's not like that. You got to look at it like this. You got to look at it from the standpoint of they don't just lay out everything in the playbook and say we just gonna verbatim do the same thing. What they do is um, they watch a lot of film. Let's not. I don't want to discredit the Eagles at all. Like I don't think people understand how much film they watch. And then what they do is um, based on the film and the analytics, they put a playbook together of all their all their successes and everything against a particular defense or scheme or package. So that's how they. So it ain't like they making it up. So it's not like they making it up. But so I don't want it to make it seem like they just guessing because they not. However, sometimes it seems like we need to do a better job of being prepared and just making different choices when it comes to the offense. All right, making different choices, and we can do that. And I think Kevin Patullo can do that, and I think Jalen Hurts is good enough to do that at the line of scrimmage. And like I said, it can only get better. But the one thing AJ is right about, the way our offense has operated some games is not going to work with a late push into the playoffs because when you get to the playoffs, you looking at the cream of the crop. So you can't be lazy. You can't be well. Let's just say the way the offense looked against Green Bay is not going to win in the playoffs. I'll say it like that. And it hasn't looked like that all year, but we've had enough games like that where it is still a concern because we haven't been consistent with our offense. That is a legitimate gripe. That is a legitimate gripe. Um, so we'll see if they can make it better. I'm about to get off here. I'm just waiting for my wife to come outside. So as soon as she come outside, I'm gonna cut it off. But um, those are legitimate gripes, and we got to do a better job. Um, I don't know, mixing it up. Mixing it up sounds too simple. You don't Mixing it up means you just, in my opinion, mixing it up means you just covering your eyes, reaching in the box and pulling out something at random, and you can't do that. So you really don't want to. What you got to do is find a play, and then how many ways can you run that play? How many formations can you run that play? How many can you run that play out of motion? Can you run that play out of shift? Can you run it out of gun? Can you run it out of strong? Can you run it out of trips? Can you run it out of aces? Can you run it out of twins? Can you run it out of overload? How many ways can you run that same play? And then once you figure out all of that, you got to call the right play against the right defense at the right time in the game. That's the gamble because they can switch up on you at any given time. So what happens when a team you done been watching all of this stuff on tape and then they don't do none of that in the game? What do you do? Because your whole game plan is out the window. They're not running that defense. They're not. The Chiefs expected us to do a whole different set of things in the Super Bowl, and we didn't do it. So they stopped Saquon, so they thought they had us, and then Jalen Hurts did Jalen Hurts thing. So um, tomorrow is the litmus test, man. Tomorrow's the litmus test. Um, we've had success against other good teams, but I think this is probably the best team we played. You can go back and look at some of the other teams, but I think with the way they're playing right now, that's the key. With the way Detroit's been playing, you could say they were one of the best teams. But this is a litmus test for us. This is a litmus test for them. Um, I hate that when you kind of look at the national media, everybody's like we have to get ready for the Lions. And it's like, nah, that goes both ways, bro. They got to get ready for us too. We're probably one of the best teams that they have faced as well. So that's the way that goes. Um, and Dan Campbell, man, I think he if he keeps being a fourth down, just he has to go for it on fourth down. Um, I think that's going to end up biting him. Eventually, it's going to end up biting him in the butt. So you know, but that's his style of play. I respect him because he sticks to it. He don't change that at all. So I respect him for sticking to that. So, um, but we'll see. We'll see if it even comes down to that. If it comes down to having to go on forward on fourth down. If it comes down to, uh, are we don't really need a tush push? You know what I'm saying? So, so different things like that. I got a sneeze coming. Excuse me. So I can sit in the car. I forgot I had my keys. So I'm just waiting for my wife. Um, Darth Panda says, I just like how KP never goes back to a play like the quarterback draw when Jalen fumbled. He always gets good yards. Yeah, you could say that. Jalen doesn't usually fumble in a situation like that. I think that was a perfect peanut punch. That was perfect. And Jalen wasn't holding the ball loose. The dude just hit him at the right spot, at the right time, at the right angle. Everything lined up perfectly, and he forced the turnover. So sometimes it happens like that. So Eagles rely a lot on analytics too. Absolutely, they do. Absolutely, they do. But you got to be able to discern when to move away from that. Everybody, when you see every coach in the NFL and they got that big ass play sheet with all the different colors, color coded, and what they do, and you ever notice the coaches they got a red marker and they marking shit off. Sometimes they got two and three colored markers. Sometimes they'll mark a playoff that they ran, or they'll mark a playoff that didn't work, so they know not to run it again. So, um, but all of that's based on analytics. Every team does that. The question, the good coaches can figure out when to get off of that and do something different. Again, in the Super Bowl, look at Nick Sirianni, just the dagger play, just call it, and that's something that they didn't really have planned. That's something that they talked about, and the players saw it. Devontae and Jalen saw that. So sometimes you got to go off script, and the good coaches know when to do that. So you still got a couple of good old school style coaches that can do that because sometimes and y'all hear me say this all the time, numbers don't lie, but they do deceive. And when you're talking about analytics, you're talking about percentages. The analytics say that on in the third quarter, when it's second and five, and there's more than 4 minutes left in the quarter, they run this play 36.7% of the time. They run this play, and then they break it down by percentages. And that's the right way to do it. But sometimes it just doesn't work. Sometimes you got to see the game. You know what I'm saying? Um, Coach Detroit got deficiencies, but the way offensively doesn't inspire confidence. We make every defense look good because of how inconsistent we are. Love the defense though. I can't argue with you, Chris. I can't really argue with you. There's been a couple of games where the offense showed up. Um, and the games that we lost, it was mistakes made. It was shooting ourselves in the foot, penalties, and all of that type of stuff. So, um, it goes both ways. But I agree with you. Our defense is making us look a lot better. And again, it goes back to what AJ is saying, and I understand what he's saying completely. There's going to come a time where the defense can't save us. We got to outscore them. The other guys get paid too, so we got to outscore him. That's the whole frustration with the offense. They because I found it funny. What's the dude? I saw his thing on X. What's the receiver for the Texans? And they quoted him like, "Hey, I just want to win, man. I don't care if I get no catches, one catch." And he was on that thing, and I was like, they putting that out there like almost like as a dig to AJ, and it's like that ain't got nothing to do with you wanting to perform. Nothing to do. So, you know, Sirianni used to be aggressive in years prior, but now this year he's more reluctant. I don't necessarily agree with that. Dude, we throw balls downfield more than almost anybody. Our deep balls, like you look at that play, I didn't agree with the play, that fourth down play when we went for it. But the reality is, if Jalen throws a better ball to the outside, AJ might have had that, and we'd have a different conversation. So, but we're gonna finish this conversation later on tonight. I gotta go. The wife is coming. We're gonna go to the Amish market and do some shopping, man. So appreciate y'all on the chat. We're gonna finish this conversation a little bit later. Looks like my microphone is working and everything, so that's good. So I'm gonna get up on out of here and do some shopping, and I will holler at y'all later. Peace.